today. And hello. I want to picture these. Thank you for coming. Especially, are you going to or coming from work? Yeah, I don't want to keep you guys too long, and those folks who need to watch this for induction can watch it later. Well, I guess since I'm the only one in the room that went to convention, I'll do a short little convention recap. We had a good time in Orlando. Had a couple of very good speakers. Chef Jeff, we did the Chef Jeff project on the Food Network. Former inmate who was incarcerated in a federal prison for 9 years, turned his life around, and now he focuses on not only cooking at the Bellagio in Las Vegas, but also he has inspired and tutored lots and lots of chefs. Another speaker we had, I'm blanking on her name, Mel Robbins. She's a motivational speaker, social media influencer, that type of person. But she was really interesting because she has some very simple life tips for making things easier, helping you do things you struggle with. She's got a TED Talk. That's Mel Robbins. If you were to just Google, or not Google, but put it into the YouTube search bar, Mel Robbins TED Talk. It's definitely worth your time and worth checking out. In addition, there were several convention forums that our students attended. We did go to Disney on Friday, which was a lot of fun. Ashley, fortunately, is really good at the whole Disney thing. So they managed to get, park was open from 5 to 11. They did get 7 rides in plus dinner. So that's, if you've ever been to Disney when it's busy, that's pretty sporty, a pretty good pace that they managed to go with. So it was a lot of fun. Next year's in Dallas. Just as a heads up for those of you that are going to be here next year, my current plan for Dallas is to fly because more than about 12 hours on the bus is kind of miserable. However, we're not going to have enough in our budget to be able to do that. So after talking to some other chapter advisors and finding what they have done, they allow us to set up payment plans where you give me 20, 30, 50 bucks a month starting, say, in September if you want to go to international convention. It's the same kind of deal if you can't go. You would need to find somebody to find your place. But since we're looking at flying to convention next year, the commitment, if you want to go, is going to be a little bit earlier in the year. But from what they haven't been to Dallas for about 10, 12 years. But from the advisors I've talked to, that they have a really good time. The convention center is very close to a lot of Dallas-y things, for lack of a better term, to the famous barbecue joints, a few of the famous kind of honky-tonk type places, do line dancing and that sort of thing, steakhouses, shopping, all that sort of stuff. So it does look like it's going to be a lot of fun. Okay, so that's kind of the convention recap. Though if you're watching this on video, please stop by my office to sign the thank you cards. Thank you cards to presidents and deans who decide on our budgets. Are very helpful, not only in showing our appreciation, because we do appreciate the support that they give us. There's some chapters that have to do all this stuff solely from fundraising, which means you have to have 2 big fundraisers a year. Can you imagine trying to raise $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 for a chapter solely out of fundraising? So we do appreciate that. Induction, week from Thursday. It's at 5 p.m. in the Neal Auditorium, Neal Building, right over there. If you are being inducted, I would ask that you try to get there by about 4:30 so I can help, so we can get lined up and ready to go. We will line up in alphabetical order. And it's about a half an hour ceremony. We'll have a few refreshments afterwards. You know, just a few snacks, and then if you want to go out to dinner with your family and friends afterwards, that's great. But if you are being inducted, you'll go through the induction ceremony. A couple of the officers from this year will help with the script, and I do need volunteers for that, but I will send out some emails on that later. I'll talk a little bit about PTK. I am going to ask our regional officer to come talk, but I don't know if his schedule will allow him to come over and do that. I sent out an email, but I'm not sure I have the right one, so I'm going to try again. We go through the ceremony. Once we finish, though, if you're being inducted, we do like to take a group picture out on the steps. So there's the steps in the Neal building on that side of the building work really well for pictures. It's a very nice frame. It looks very nice. And since Ariel isn't in the picture this year, she can take the picture. Poor Ariel, she gets suckered into being the official photographer to a lot of these events because she's good at it. So, okay. Before we get to officers, I did hand out the mock chapter sheet, and I will post this file with the video. Here's the mock chapter, save the date. They're doing it 2 days this year, but the really important part is the June 29th sessions. For those of you that don't know, this is your first year, you just signed up for PTK. What mock chapter is it basically takes you a step-by-step through the process of your honors and action project, your college project, what we're going to be doing throughout the year, how to create award-worthy projects. We fell a little short on our projects last year, and I'd really like to change that for next year. Not only that, the Honors in Action College Project fills so many blanks in scholarship applications. It's community service. You're demonstrating you're working with a team, that you can accomplish a goal, that you can overcome obstacles. These are all questions that are almost always going to be part of a questionnaire for a scholarship. If you're asked, to write mini essays, describe a time where you worked with a team. If not that, it's something you're going to be asked in an interview. So these are all things that are going to be very helpful to us, especially since we're transferring or transitioning from not having an honors program next year. PTK in essence is going to be like your honors program in terms of adding onto your resume, getting the most out of your time while you're here, and all that sort of stuff. So I really encourage you to go to mock chapter if you can, but for right now, try to save the date. Don't plan any weekends at the beach for the 29th. You're going to have the 4th for that the following week. Okay, officers. I do need to put together an officer team for next year. So if you're going to be here next year, I would like to get volunteers first, but I really need a core of about 4 students at minimum to put together an officer team to help run meetings. This year, since the PTK officers were so involved in honors, it was difficult to kind of ask them to do both. But this year, you might be ambassadors, but your job as an officer here is going to be a little different. But your primary responsibilities are helping run meetings, making sure that when we have work sessions on the college project and the Honors in Action project, that you're there and you're being a leader. And then making sure everything gets done in December and January. I want to get started earlier this year. And that's why I mentioned the college project on our list. But before I get to that, if you want to be an officer next year, I like to do an officer team. Some chapters will do a president and vice presidents in charge of various jobs. I prefer to do an officer team where we can meet and see, okay, this is what we need to do. So who's going to be our lead person on the college project? Who's going to be the lead person on the Honors in Action project? Who's going to focus on fundraisers? And then the cool thing about having an officer team as opposed to having specific jobs, your lives change. So say Noah is an officer and he's supposed to be in charge of a fundraiser, but he gets a new job or his work schedule changes. Somebody else from the officer team can either switch jobs with him or kind of pick up the slack. Okay, so that's why I like to have a team as opposed to specific jobs. Okay, so the college project, this idea actually came to me at convention. What I would like to do for the next year is have a focus on soft skills. What does that mean? Well, soft skills are all those things that nobody tells you about that you're already supposed to know. How to fill out a resume, what you should do to prep for an interview. And this is kind of what made me think of this, how to eat at a fancy luncheon. Because when we got to convention, our first luncheon, we had students who'd never eaten with multiple forks before, didn't know which way to go in the etiquette of eating in a fancy dinner. So what I'd like to do is spend the fall working on certain soft skills things. And not only for us, but also to share our findings with the student body and then culminate with like a Christmas luncheon or dinner where we actually have somebody who knows etiquette tell us about how you're supposed to do this and how you're supposed to, work from the outside in with your forks, where you're supposed to hold your napkin, how you're supposed to butter your bread, all that stuff that you may be taking out to lunch for a final job interview. And, not necessarily now, but maybe 10 years from now. And you might be judged on how you're doing things, or you don't want to add to the stress of that type of environment by not knowing what to do etiquette-wise. So we're going to start with talking to the administration about this because that's the way the college project goes. But what I really want to start with is the competitive edge program, which is something I'd like to have done by as many people as possible over the summer. Okay, and that's through Phi Theta Kappa. Not only do you get recognition at the regional convention for being a 5-star competitive edge member, but you learn a whole bunch of soft skills, study skills, job skills, scholarship application skills. Again, that a lot of people will expect you to know, but nobody tells you how to do it. So that's the college project. Once I get some volunteers for officers, we can put into motion, hopefully before we leave for the summer, a plan for the college project, when we're going to have certain stuff done and when. Okay. Let's see. Thank you cards I mentioned already, but if you did go to International Convention, you're watching this, please stop by my office for thank you cards. And I talked about mock chapter, which is at Jefferson State. I can try to get the money to go for both days if the people that are going would like to go up Friday night. The hotel rooms near the Shelby campus are not real expensive. So if you're sharing a room with say 3 or 4 people, it might cost you $25 a person, $30 a person. So even if you're paying out of pocket, it might not be too bad. Okay, so main things I want you to leave this meeting with. First of all, thank you cards. If you want on international, please come by my office and sign the thank you card. But 2, if you're going to be on campus next year and you want a great opportunity to add to your resume, gain the type of experience that you need to be successful in life, and to add to your community service hours, which would help with ambassadors, please let me know if you'd like to be an officer or part of the officer team for next year. That's the main thing. Second thing is check your email over the summer because we are going to try to meet over the summer, especially to work on the college project, but also set a plan for the Honors in Action. So we got too late a start this year, and I think that's why it fell apart, and that's on me. I don't want to repeat that. this year. Okay. Any questions about all this mass information? Okay, so for induction, business attire. So nice dress for ladies, at least a tie for gentlemen. This would be business casual, so a little step up from that, from polo and slacks. Okay, your families can wear whatever they want as long as they're clothed. So don't need that crazy aunt showing up naked, please. I will see you all next week at induction. But if you are being inducted again, please try to be there by 4:30 so we can get lined up. All right. Thank you for coming, y'all. And please take a cupcake so I don't have to smell them.